Hello, I'm Mark,
I'm Casey.
and today we're going to talk a little bit about Tesla's update for us on Optimus. But first, let's roll that title.
You're watching the Tesla Life Express.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining us today. Wanted to talk a little bit about this new video released by Tesla. As you remember, back on the 10 event, we saw Optimus, a fleet of Optimus, out in the crowd, talking, interacting with people, and we quickly found out that a lot of the Optimus actions during that event were actually teleprompted. So we had humans that were with a VR headset or looking through cameras were actually controlling some of the movements of Optimus and interacting with the crowd that was there, playing rock, paper, scissors, playing a guessing game, speaking to them. And on this podcast where Casey, I, and Patrick we're discussing about, well, how much of this is real and how much of it is puppetry? Obviously the puppetry was still impressive. To have the robot actually mimicking a human's movements over an internet link still was impressive, because the actuators in the hands, the balance of the robot, the movement and expression, body language that the robot was giving was still impressive, even if it was a human controlling all those actions, or the robot was mimicking what the human was doing. So that's all great, but we wanted to know how much was AI and how much the robot was figuring out on its own. And of course, with that demonstration at 1010, we really didn't know. But Tesla then released a video just this week, and Casey's going to run it. We're going to talk a little bit about what happens during this video.
One thing that was interesting with that, now that you bring it up, is I'm curious now. It's still impressive, even if it was like way more teleoperated than we thought, because the one that slipped, that happened to say, "Oh yeah, we get our checks here and this and that," like the robot would never say that, right?
Yeah.
So that one made it sound like they were in Southern California while the event happened in Texas. So if you can telepresence like that, obviously the walking, the balance is obviously being done locally by the robot itself, but that alone is impressive, because before, if you remote operated a bot like this, you had to be like at the end of a tether. We're talking maybe 50 feet max, and these guys didn't have tethers, and it didn't sound like the operators were anywhere near the venue.
Right, and obviously the connection wasn't lagging. It was pretty real time as it happened.
So I found our solution for this work in the office mess. Just everybody jump on a VR set, and now you're in the office.
Buy yourself an Optimus, and it can go around and pretend it's you.
Yes. So this Tesla gave us this video to show us, because some of the critiques were pretty harsh, and so they wanted to show us how much it can actually do on its own. Like they said there was an AI responding to people, but even if they hooked Grok up to audio or they used somebody else's stuff, it just they all sounded different enough, and so even if they had like the 5 voices everybody else has, it wasn't that. These were, at least some of them were human, but look at the rest of this stuff. Some of this stuff is what we saw, and that's pretty cool.
Here we go. So we've got Optimus wandering around the test center. This is sped up, obviously.
At the beginning, it was real speed, what we saw at the event.
But right now, this is sped up.
Yeah, way sped.
And they were saying that this is a view of what the robot sees. It's mapping out. And pause it here, Casey. So this is what's happening, is that the robot is actually mapping its surroundings and putting it into a navigation map that we see here on the main screen. You can also see on the right that you've got 4 different robots that are collaborating to create this map. So not only can the robot figure out what's happening in its own area and map it, but it can also share that data with the other robots so they don't have to remap it. Although they probably do for slight changes as you know, people have moved or objects have moved into that environment. But it's got a baseline based on the mapping that another robot may have already done half an hour before. So that can save on processing time. If it notices the things match up, it can move along maybe a little bit quicker. So this is kind of interesting that they can collaborate and use a common map.
Yeah, and they can also kind of share danger zones. Like, hey, there's a slippery spot there, or there's a solid wall there. So if you need to come for a charge, you need to go all the way around.
And this human hasn't had coffee yet, so just avoid him completely.
I was grumpy today. But what's impressive about this is if you think about this, we actually have this in our cars today. If you've ever come up in FSD to a spot that your car's never been to, but isn't a mystery to other Teslas, you'll see that your car is looking like around corners and stuff like, here's what the road is going to do. And it's not following the map, because they'll do this even on new construction. Like, I don't know how frequently they do it. It's not as, these are doing it real time, but ours probably do it on some sort of cycle. But you'll find if you go through a new road or new development and then come back later in a different Tesla, it knows about it, which is incredible.
And this appears to be the actual Tesla bot training area. So they have their own little section of this building where they have sample stations built for the robot to perform tasks that it's good at, ones that it's learning, ones that they're training on. This is the actual training ground for the bots.
So they all collaborate together, which is nice. Can locate the nearest charging station, which thankfully is in the back.
And look at that. It just kind of hooks itself on and charges.
Yeah. We're using this rear camera, the same one that we have on the cars today, the rear view camera. The carrying capacity has been increased, and they mentioned without overheating. So
yep, 11 kilograms it can lift without overheating. You're right. So that must have been a problem in the past, because they definitely mentioned that.
They did. They're like, oh yeah, it's weak enough that you don't got to worry about it. But maybe it was weak enough it didn't overheat.
Yeah, exactly. So they've set up these sample stations where the robot can perform actions. In this case, pick a number of battery cells off a conveyor belt, put them into and sort them into a container unit, and then physically move that unit to another station to perform another task, unloading or stacking, things of that nature is what this was all about. So the dexterity of the fingers and the hands to pick up an object at the right pressure points, to sort them, put them in a box, carry that box, and then bring them to an unsorting station or unloading station.
And these aren't even the next gen hands. These are just the current.
That's right.
Was it 11 degrees of freedom? Yeah.
Yeah. And the new one, 22 degrees of freedom. Yeah. So double the dexterity.
Mm-hmm. And they were thinking, like, do we need all of that? 'Cause humans have it, but do we need it? And then every time they went to go put this thing in a place where a human goes, they're like, yeah, we need it.
We're going to need it. Yeah.
If you don't want to make it a special drill bit or a special tire gun or whatever, it's going to have to fit right in where a person fits in. That's
it's going to have the dexterity, or almost the complete dexterity, of a human if you're wanting it to learn tasks that we currently take for granted. Yeah. So here it is, unpacking, and the stairs test. So the balance of the stairs, critical. And then they also took the robot and started to teach it what humans are going to do to it, like what interaction is going to be like. In this case, they set up a station where there's a drink and a snack station, and they've got a number of different humans that line up and then ask the robot in different ways as to whether they want a drink or a snack or a combination, or which one first. And the robot is learning how to interpret points from the human, voice commands, or body language as to what the human is doing. Even reaching at the robot the robot can react to it so that no one gets hurt, type thing. It's interesting. Go ahead and play it. We'll just watch the reactions here.
I also like how they pointed out that this is using 2D cameras, so not 3D cameras, not LiDAR, just eyes. 8 of them, but eyes.
Yeah.
Here you go, sir.
Thank you. Grabs it. I want a snack bag. There's your snack bag. Thanks. Next guy. He asked in a different order. Next guy. This guy's using hand gestures like crazy.
Yeah.
It's like that guy's crazy, man. That's a crazy human right there.
Exactly. One thing I wanted to point out with the charging was you notice that the face light pipe went red. Like, hey, don't bother me. I'm hungry. I haven't had my coffee yet. Don't interact with me.
That's interesting. Maybe the red to indicate that it's incapacitated in some way. In this case, charging.
Right. I think
or
offline
in some way.
Yeah, you're trying to ask it questions or tell it to do stuff. It's like, nah, man, I'm busy.
Yeah.
Sees red all the way around so you can tell what's going on.
I like how it kind of hangs itself on it. It like lowers and just click, and there it is. It's charging. So
I'm wondering, like, I wonder if they made any effort to like make it smaller as it's on the wall, and if it's like literally just hanging on the wall and it just puts its feet down and unplugs itself, or if it's
I bet it's just not completely hanging, but it is like resting weight on it to make the connection.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Yeah,
but definitely you can see in the artist drawing there, or the graphic, that the feet are still planted on the ground.
Yeah.
So it's balanced. It backs up to the hook, and it kind of lowers the torso onto the hook, almost like a coat rack, where the weight is still there, but it just is enough to make the connection and start charging. And it said with this, as you mentioned, that it's just looking at one camera through the back to line this up.
It's using Auto Park.
Yeah, exactly. So
hopefully it's not the same routine as Auto Park. Hopefully it's like Auto Park version 2 or something. But at first I was thinking those dots in the middle were like the connection pins, but no, it's those are it using it. Those are the visual system recognizing the edges of the connector.
Yeah, the visual cues of the actual system.
But looking at the shape of that, it looks a lot like the Tesla wall connector.
It does.
It's got a blade instead of a handle. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting that they used a blade like that to stick in the center of the back. Kind of interesting. I thought maybe
though,
because it could walk up to it and maybe use its arm, and just the arm just goes in the holster or something. But this is what they came up with as their first run.
I like it better than what Elon was suggesting the first time. But the disadvantage I see for using the regular, the NAX connector for this is that you'd have to have it powered up the whole time or seated in a chair, because you'd have to keep the balance. You don't want it just falling over just because it's charging.
Right.
So this
makes sense. Yeah, because it's centered in the center of the robot's back, so you're not going to get it tipping over, because it's the center of weight is set up so that the charger holds some of the weight, and it's balanced to begin with.
It's got that little hook shape, so it's like a coat hook. So the rest of that weight is completely passively controlled.
And I imagine to leave it, all it's doing is pushing in on the knees, which raises the torso, and it unlatches and it walks away. It's free. So it's a simple but elegant design.
So not quite the wall sits or wall squats that you had to do in school, but similar.
Yeah. Very cool.
Without hands, get back up. And we saw that yes, it can get up without hands. Yeah. You want to do another loop, or you want to go back to us big screen?
Just go with the loop, and because I just wanted to comment again on the process where it's learning from the humans asking for a snack or a drink. It becomes a question of how much can the robot learn from those interactions? Does the AI store some of it? Does it get a new situation and it logs it into a new category where it can anticipate what a human is going to do based on the recordings. See the hand bump there, it's going like, hey, don't touch me, don't. So there is interesting that how it's going to react and record this information and store it to allow other robots, not just itself, just like the room mapping, it's going to be able to share that information amongst many other robots and the interaction that they have with humans.
Yeah. So the question here is, behind it, is that just the insurance tether, or is it getting power through that?
It's getting power. I've seen it move before, and it's tethered to power, so they can continually run it probably for hours without having to worry about recharging.
Makes sense. If you got a station and there's power at the station,
yeah,
and
we saw in the early days with Optimus that a lot of them were tethered above. It was on some sort of gantry system above them where they could. Because of course they're working on many things engineering wise, and one of them is power consumption and longevity of the actual unit before it needs more power. And if you're working on another component like AI learning or interaction with whatever unit, you would much rather have unlimited power. So you could just continue working and not worry about the recharging problem, because that's not your problem. You're dealing with an AI learning center.
And unlimited power and a good solid data connection. You don't have to worry about wireless in the factory.
Exactly. So no, this is cool. Glad they released it, because of course there were a lot of questions about the puppeteering that we saw at the 1010 and how much of this was real and how much of it was staged in a way that could be
exactly
from human.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the last part was exactly what we saw there. They would point at the snacks. I want this one. I want that one, and they would hand it. But the quips and the comments were probably teleoperated.
So let's turn around to the user or the watchers out there of the program. What do you think? Is this what you is Optimus performing the way you thought it would perform? Were you pleased with this video that was released that show that there is some learning and AI going on, or do you feel that it's still much puppetry out there? Let us know in the comments. Let us know what you think, what you have seen, and what do you think about the progress that we've seen here today?
It came out after 2018, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because it came out with the hardware 2.5 computer that my car shipped with the air-cooled one was in the chest. And it was on the tether, and it came out and introduced itself. And that was less than 6 years ago.
Yeah,
it's impressive.
Yeah, they've come a long way, but it'll be interesting to see how it moves forward and how quickly it moves, because Tesla's obviously putting in a lot of energy and time into this. It'll be interesting to see how it actually progresses from here, especially as mentioned, when they're showing a 22-degree hand. They're doubling up the dexterity. Obviously, they believe that this is going to be able to reshape the human-robot interface. It's going to be able to do a lot of tasks just through observation and learning in the environment, that it'll be able to collect that, put it into its neural net, and then allow other robots to learn it immediately, because it's got the data points through FSD and its visual layout mapping of rooms and tasks.
And then also, when you compare that to what else is out there, look at what happened with Spots Creator. They went a completely different route. They had
Boston Dynamics.
Yeah. They went a completely different way. They had this like bulky, macho looking like the robot toy, the Rock'em Sock'em. The head goes up, and then they went something completely like, it's like a horror show. Like it just comes up from the ground, and the hips are doing like way too much motion.
That's the Atlas. Yeah.
Yeah, the new Atlas, and then you have whoever BMW's working with in their plant. Theirs is a little more like Optimus, but the way they went to solve every problem is different. Like Optimus uses a lot of linear actuators and rotators, and theirs was all like not all, but uh, more of just like one type of motion. And then of course we have the FSD, the inference computer on board, but then you've got the folks like at Amazon, or at least the ones that are recording Amazon, with like the bird looking thing where the ankles go backwards, so they're not.
Well, I think Boston Dynamics was looking at multiple different
Them too, yes.
Because they were looking at it being task related as to what the robot would look like. So they had the thing on two wheels with the sucker arm that would pick up packages. They had the dog, as you mentioned. They had the bull that they developed for the U.S. military. They had the Atlas, which was the two-legged human. So they're all over the board. But Tesla's saying, hey, humans are able to do all this stuff anyways.
Exactly.
Let's just design it exactly like a human, and it'll be able to do all the tasks. So with that, I think we will wrap it up, though, tonight. Casey, what do you got for the people out there for shout-outs?
Catch us on Wednesday for the live show.
That's right. That's coming up on Wednesday at 7. And with that, we'll sign out. Again, put your notes in the comments. Like to see what you think about this. And if you haven't already, give us a thumbs up. Press that subscribe button. Help us out. And we will see you again on the Tesla Life.